Welcome everyone to Gamer Melt. Yes, as you can see, I'm doing yet another talking head video, and I do apologize. I promise I am going to be going back to my normal videos, but yesterday my test bench motherboard actually crapped out, and it took me a while to figure that out. It kept saying that it was the CPU, but after I put a couple new CPUs in, it kept saying it was the CPU, so obviously that wasn't it. Either way, I had to take the board out of my main rig just to finish my testing, and only today was I able to run by Best Buy, and it's actually right here, and pick up a motherboard so I could do this video today. So once again, I do apologize, but definitely don't think that that means there isn't some amazing news, because there really is. Actually, I've got a ton. I'm talking the 3070 selling out, third-party RX 6000 cards being seen, AMD bringing the 6900 XT to partners, AMD could run out, and the 6800 XT can beat the 3090. So yeah, let's just get right to it. Starting things off, as I predicted, Nvidia moving their 3070 launch to a couple weeks later, conveniently right after the 6000 announcement date, did not help stock. In fact, from what I saw, they were out of stock within just a few minutes. And a ton of you ended up replying and saying, I actually had it in there. I went to buy and it said, oh, we can't deliver to your address. And there was tons of errors. I do know for a fact that Newegg went down for a little while, so yes, and unfortunately, they are still out of stock. I just recently refreshed this, and yeah, I don't even know what to say. Once again, Nvidia's cards are nowhere to be found, which once again just makes me think that I was right to begin with, that they only moved the launch date just to see what AMD has, then went ahead and released it. Didn't help at all with stock because, like I said, we're literally talking just a few minutes. Of course, because Newegg and other sites actually went down, I will say that it does show just how much demand there is. But once again, Nvidia should have at least somewhat anticipated this, especially for how much more powerful they are than last gen. Anyway, it is what it is, and next up today, we are starting to see some RX 6000 reference cards by Gigabyte and Sapphire, so we can actually kind of see it's not really their version of reference, it's just reference cards built by them. And we can see now one thing I noticed, you can see one difference between the 6800 besides this part right here. You can see that it is different in the middle. There's a little bit of an extra accent on the 6800 XE, but you can also see that the Radeon is white there versus red there. And that actually leads me to believe that potentially the reference 6800 XT actually has an RGB, which I know a lot of people want, me included, but at the same time, it still has the red line accent. So honestly, in my opinion, it doesn't really help because you're either going to make it red or, well, white. I mean, maybe it is just white instead of RGB, which would make plenty of sense. But at the same time, with this being a more expensive card, maybe they just included RGB. And next, some of AMD's board partners have started announcing their 6000 series cards. You can actually see Asus was one of them. They even announced their Strix with an AIB cooler with it, so pretty nice. Clearly, AIB partners are excited for these cards. And of course, they should be, especially with this next story. From Andreas Schilling, who is one of the editors at Hardware Lux, you can see that he says AMD is in talks with board partners about custom models of the RX 6900 XT. For those who've been following the channel, we actually knew prior to the 6900 XT's launch that not only the 6900 XT existed, but that it was an AMD exclusive card. And as you can see right here, he states that so far it is only made by AMD, but partners are interested, which why wouldn't they be? Sure, it isn't that much more powerful than the 6800 XT, but with it being $500 less than the 3090 and beating it as well as, I mean, you know, neck and neck with the 3090, yet $500 less, people who are going to want the best are definitely going to gravitate towards this or the 3090, but there's definitely a much better reason to get this. Once again, $500 less, yet still basically just as good. And next up for today, we actually have some really bad news. According to a couple different sources, now let's go ahead and get it started, kind of peel the band-aid right off here. In a Reddit post, supposedly, the Polish shop Morel.net or Morelli, I'm not 100% sure, but either way, a Redditor supposedly called the shop and actually asked about pre-orders. And believe it or not, they actually confirmed that there will be that option, which is a big thing. Of course, you can go ahead and pre-order, though just like with the launch day, pre-order sales can sell out just as quickly, and you likely won't be able to get more before launch, but it'll at least give retailers an idea of what to expect as far as sales, so they can figure out if they need to make more orders, make less, and it just kind of gives them a little bit of a heads up prior to launch. Unfortunately, it looks like we have a bit of a heads up from this retailer if they are correct, because according to them, they said to expect problems with stock as it was with NVIDIA GPUs. All I can say is that I really hope that's wrong, but to be honest, there's quite a bit of things going against this. For one, we have the thing that shall not be named, then the fact that AMD typically can run out of stock fairly quickly on a new release anyway. Then to top it all off, because of how many people were excited about NVIDIA's RTX 3000, the fact that barely anyone who wanted a card was able to get one, and now the 6000 series is very competitive, so all of the NVIDIA users are now likely going to be jumping to AMD. Basically, I highly doubt when AMD made their orders that they expected all of these things to happen. But at the same time, there was still that part of me that was really excited and hopeful. And I will say that at least from some people, I've been hearing that they are going to have more stock than NVIDIA, but after hearing this, I will say that I'm not that hopeful. With that said, I will have links to the 6000 GPUs in the description below, so if you're interested in getting one, definitely check that out. They are affiliate links and they help the channel out. Also, make sure to follow me on Twitter at GamerMeld and subscribe to the channel. Click that bell notification icon because I am going to be sending stuff out about stock, when pre-orders go live, and all of that good stuff as soon as I get it. So definitely make sure to do that. And we're actually hearing similar sentiments from the Chinese forums. This user right here doesn't really think or expect that we're going to get heavy volume until December. And of course, like I said earlier, that has been something we've seen with AMD releases in the past. They'll release it, then within the next couple months or so, they really ramp up the orders and stock gets better. And lastly for today, I'm super excited. As you can see, this is actually AMD's official website, and they shared some more gaming benchmarks for their 6000 series cards. So I want to go over that, and really this first one right here illustrates why I'm so excited. As you can see, the 6900 beats the 3090, which of course does happen. It beats it by about 10% or so. But here's the crazy part. The 6800 XT also beats it. Remember that this is a $650 card versus a $1,500 card. Of course, this is 4K versus 8K, but once again, who has 8K? Comment below if you have an 8K anything. Let me know. Either way, the 6800 seriously beats it. Now, the reason why, and this is something that's pretty interesting, what you'll notice is that NVIDIA cards typically scale very similarly, and it's the same with AMD. And the reason for that is because they're using the same architecture. So when you're comparing one AMD card to the next, given it's the same generation, and one NVIDIA card to the next, given it's the same generation, it's typically going to scale fairly well no matter which game you're playing. But when you bring in NVIDIA versus AMD, you're actually looking at two totally different architectures. And because of that, some architectures favor some versus the others, so some games are going to have where AMD cards do way better than NVIDIA cards, especially if they're fairly similar cards to begin with, and some you'll have where NVIDIA does better than AMD. And of course, yes, AMD first-party benchmarks, I rarely suggest trusting those wholeheartedly, but this is still really interesting, and right now this is all we have. And I will say that AMD said that they did use the other preferred API, but either way, like I said, this is interesting because you've got a $650 card beating a card that's literally more than double its price. Now, obviously the 3090 isn't significantly better than the 3080 in most times anyway, so of course, with the fact that the 6800 XT can beat the 3080, you would expect it to maybe match the 3090 sometimes. But when we're talking such a difference in price, at least to me, I personally think that that's a huge deal. And not only that, but check this out. It actually happens a few times. You can see the 6800 XT neck and neck with the 3090 here. So that's 2 times it did it. Right here, things are more about in line with what you would expect. Same here. And now, here's the thing. This is 1 time that the 3080 actually beat the 6900 XT. So it does happen, but You'll notice that it doesn't happen as often. So this is a third time it happened, and then once again a fourth time. So that's 4 times that it happens, though of course these are hand selected by AMD, but these are also fairly popular games. We have Resident Evil 3, about what you would expect. Then we have, let's see, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I mean, these are games, most people are using for testing. So just, wow, really big deal, really interesting, at least if you ask me. Though, of course, let me know what you think down in the description. Is there something that I'm not seeing here? Is there some, do you own an 8K TV? Do you really have use for a 3090? Or are you someone who actually purchased it and seriously regrets it? Let me know down in the comments below. And of course, if you liked the video, please subscribe, give it a thumbs up, and as always, have a great day.